Hey guys, Jordan here. I just finished up an interview with Chris Trefry and Cameron Tingey, the CT brothers out of Scottsdale that have a short-term rental business, and they've been doing it full-time for the last couple years and already manage 50 properties. So there's a lot of value that they add in this interview about the short-term rental business. So if that's a topic you're interested in, then make sure to watch the whole episode. Hey guys, Jordan Nilsson here, host of Real Estate Pros. And today we are interviewing Chris Trefry and Cameron Tingey, the CT brothers out of Scottsdale. They specialize in short-term rentals and they have a flourishing real estate business. So welcome. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day and joining me for this interview.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, so we'll give
Pleasure
we'll give you guys a couple minutes to kind of introduce yourself and talk about how what got you into real estate.
All right. I'll start us off and tell the introduction of the story. So I'm Chris, and I met Cameron at ASU. I'm from Illinois originally. Came out to sunny Arizona to escape the gloom out there of the Midwest. Cameron and I met in the fraternity at ASU that we joined, and we were roommates ever since sophomore year of our college experience. Both got our degrees in marketing over at ASU. We both ended up going into the same profession right out of college, which was sales. We were working with cold calling books of business and just managing types of leads that way and making a lot of money for kids right out of college. And we both lived pretty frugal lives. So we said, what do we do with this extra cash that we have stashed up? And, we were living together right out of college as roommates, and Cameron tells the story. I'll let you take it over, Cameron, with what we did every night after work.
Yeah, every night after work, we had this big classroom-sized whiteboard that we had picked up throughout college. You kind of end up with these weird pieces of furniture, and we had a big classroom-sized whiteboard, and we'd write out all these business ideas on it that maybe we thought could turn into something. Really, most of them were pretty ridiculous. Time savers, different products, beer for dogs, things like this that maybe were never meant to pan out. And eventually, Chris came upon this book that we both read on real estate. And we thought, okay, we've both been just putting away money since we started these sales jobs. Let's start there and invest in real estate. And we bought our first house. We did the house hacking method on it. And so then we were able to save even more money every month and kept our lifestyles the same. And one house grew to two houses, grew to 3 and 4. And then after that, we started having people ask us to manage their houses. And so started off with our own Airbnbs, and now we manage 50 properties. And we're full-time working for ourselves.
Sweet. So talk to us a little bit about the transition, because it does sound like you kind of started as a side hustle after your 9 to 5 or whatever kind of job you're doing. I love the entrepreneur spirit and all the different business ideas. And then you landed in real estate. First, tell me, what book did you read? I'm curious about the book and that kind of got that's you guys interested in real estate.
Yeah, the book is called Set for Life by Scott Trent, the CEO of Bigger Pockets.
Oh, okay.
Everybody in the real estate industry pretty familiar with that. But I remember I listened to that book on audio tape while I was on break at work doing sales job, and just learning about how to invest in real estate, excited about it, and I crushed it in 2 days. And I told Cameron, I said, you got to read this thing, man. This is golden. This is the idea we've been looking for. And the theory in that book is you buy one property every single year as a residential home. You put 3.5% down your first time, then you put 5% down your second time, and so on. And then you move out of that property, and then you rent out the previous one that you were just living in. And then every year you do that for 10 years and repeat. And then, you've got $10,000 ideally at the end of your 10 years with 10 properties of cash flow coming in per month. And then you can live off of that income, which would replicate what you would make in corporate America.
Yeah, there's some type of capital gains or something with a year. Is there a reason for the 1 year mark or something like that, or you can buy another? Were you buying them as primary residence and then you just kind of just loading them up?
Exactly. So doing it 1 year at a time, you can then move into the new property and use it as a primary residence
Ah,
so you can pay less money down.
got it. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Otherwise, you're paying a lot more. Anyways, that's an awesome story. So you guys currently have how many? Did you say 8 personal properties, and then you're managing a total of 50 right now?
Go ahead, Chris.
Currently, we are at 5. So we were doing that process for about 4 years.
Okay.
And on our second year, we were doing the house hack, then we are doing a long-term rental, and then our third property, we said, well, there's a lot of hype around, short-term rentals and vacation rentals in this Arizona market, specifically in Scottsdale, where we lived and where we were acquiring our properties. So we said we got to give this a shot. We'd be silly to not try it out because we were seeing some of the numbers that people were talking about making, and our long term rentals were bringing about 1,000 a month for cash flow.
Yeah.
So we tried that out, and after a year of analyzing the first property as an Airbnb, it was coming in at about 3,000 to 3,500 a month in cash flow. So we said, okay, 3x in the returns. This is where we need to put our focus at.
Wow. Yeah, that's significantly better than so what's your guys' role? Like, do you guys manage it, or overall, like, obviously you guys are experienced now. You guys have several. Is it more like an operation behind the scenes? Like, people come and go. You got your cleaners. There's a lot of logistics that goes on to making it very, a profitable venture. And obviously, you hear about short-term rentals and Airbnb is kind of like a hot topic today. But what are those things that make it such a great business opportunity?
I'll take the first part of that question. Our role has changed a lot throughout the years. We used to be everything on these properties. We were the landscaper, we were the pool guy, we were everything. And now we've one of the beautiful things about growing the business is that we've been able to specialize ourselves and specialize some of those tasks. So we do a lot of management of different contractors, right? We have, our pool guy, our landscapers, our cleaners, our handyman, people who are experts in their field and can do things better than we can. And right now, Chris and I's main focus is on the guest experience and our client's experience. So making sure that if you own a house and we're managing it, you don't have to worry about it. You understand how the numbers work, where the money is coming from. You're getting paid out every month, and making sure that the guests have a really good time and that they feel valued and they have a unique, special experience here in Arizona.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's great. And to follow up on the second part of that, we work with clients and investors in real estate who are all across the board on their wants and needs. So we've got people who want to acquire property out here in Arizona because they live up north and they said, hey, I want to come down and I want to visit for a couple times throughout the year, but I also want that property to make me money or to at least break even. A lot of the times, those people are just looking to subsidize the costs of the property that they want to come and stay at, and they want something to call their own. And then we've got other investors who are interested in getting cash flow just like we are and growing a portfolio of multiple properties. And so we like to help and accommodate everybody across the board.
yeah, and obviously right now we're in like some weird, it's kind of weird out there in the real estate industry right now, and maybe people might be gun shy or think about, oh, I don't know what look at it, the future. Obviously, from a home selling perspective, rates are high and stuff. How has the changing in the real estate market impacted the short-term rental business, if any?
We saw a big slowdown at the turn of the year, and now we're pretty much back up to where we should be. But the one key difference is that people are not booking out as far in advance as they were in years past. I mean, you used to see people booking 6 months out, and now that I think there's a little bit more economic uncertainty,
Mm.
people don't book out much farther than 30 to 45 days. But yeah, we did take a little bit of dip, but I think we're back to where we'd like to be.
Yeah. And to add to that, to put that into perspective of what it looks like, our average occupancy in a good year on a property is 80 to 85% across the entirety of the year. So we're right there again this year. It was a little bit, you know, worrisome last December when we said, hey, things should be picking up now. But then with the PGA Tour, with Waste Management, with Super Bowl, that all seemed to drive a lot of traction. And spring training's been awesome, and that's finally happening again here in Arizona. So it's been good.
So do you guys specialize in specifically the Scottsdale area specifically, or do you guys do manage properties in other cities as well?
Yeah, we have not necessarily a specialization, just that a lot of our properties are in Scottsdale, and we live ourselves in Scottsdale. So it kind of started that way because that's where we were investing. We saw, the appreciation of the homes in that area going up the most, and so we ourselves were saying, okay, this is our easiest area to take advantage of. Right now, it's close. We can drive to the properties. We can see them. And then over time, as we grew our team, we expanded it out to Tempe, to Arcadia, some Phoenix. We got one in Glendale, one in Gilbert, Chandler. So we've got a couple in those outside markets. And then about a year and a half ago, we had an investor come to us and say, hey, we've got these properties out in Alabama and Florida, and we no longer want to use our manager that we're currently using, but we like you guys, and we want you to learn how to manage them remotely. And so for the first 6 months, we were training and learning that whole managing remotely type system. And then, the last year, it's been full force on that. So we can really operate in any market if there's a need for it. And now we've got one in Oregon and, a couple other in our sites.
Very nice. Also, I wanted to ask, what makes, so you guys are, looking, I think, because regular rental properties can be anywhere, right? But maybe a short-term rental, it might be little specific areas or just things that you're looking for. What do you guys look for in a property when analyzing it for being a good fit for a short-term rental?
That's a place where our marketing backgrounds come into play, and it's a lot of it has to do with finding out who is your target consumer. There's a lot of people who fly into town for business, and an Airbnb is not the right choice for them. A hotel is probably the right choice. But if you've got a family of 5, or you're getting together with a big bachelorette group or a bachelor party, you need a bigger house. And that's something to consider. You also have digital nomads who come stay for a month, and they have dogs, and you can't just coop them up in a hotel room all day. You've got to have a place with a yard. And a lot of it comes down to identifying who is our customer and how are we serving them best. And that's what we use to identify properties. We saw a big bubble last year of people buying up short-term rentals in Scottsdale. And if you go on the multiple listing service, you can see a lot of those properties are now being sold because people bought them without having any idea, just thinking it would be easy to make money. But a lot of preparation on the front end results in a lot more profits on the back end. So it's about finding the right deal and figuring out what market you're serving.
Right. And like, what is your ideal client? So do people come to you and be like, I want to get into the short-term rental business. Can you help me find a property? Or do people have like maybe a month-to-month rental or traditional rental, and they're like, hey, I want to potentially convert this into a short-term rental? What does that ideal client look for you guys?
Well, if we're talking ideal client, like best of the best, it's going to be the first method that you talked about, where they're new to the whole thing and they come to us, the experts, and we can help them from start to finish. So we realize that there are a lot of people out there that want to get into this, that read the news, that see the YouTube videos, and they say, hey, like I could pay $20,000 for this guru to teach me how to do it and maybe go do it. Or we could actually help them find the property with our real estate license ourselves, help them close on the deal, make some money on that commission, and then from there we can property manage, the entire thing, and have the whole process taken care of. And we prefer that because a lot of the times people will come to us and say, hey, I have this property, I've been living in it, it's great for Airbnb, take it over. Well, we don't really get to consult where they buy, how they furnish it, and all of the specific remodel things that they should do at that point. And so that's our preferred method.
Yeah. And what are 2 to 3 tips that you guys can give to somebody that's looking to get into that segment of the real estate market?
Number one, like I said, identify who your customer is. You can't just say, yeah, I want anybody who comes to town to book my Airbnb, because then you're competing with every single Airbnb on the market. So one, figure out who you're serving. And then two, I would say, at least in the Scottsdale market and most other markets that we're in, location is a big deal. Chris, do you want to round us off with maybe 3 and 4?
Yeah, I would say for 3, you've got to have a interior design consultant of some sort on your project. Too many people come in and want to do the same thing, copy and paste of what every other property is doing. And as Cameron mentioned, we saw a big bubble of new short-term rentals adding into the market. And that wasn't just Arizona, that's all markets. So those people are coming in, replicating what looks good on Airbnb and what they would want to stay at. But then you're just going to be at the bottom of the results because you don't have any reviews, and your property is going to be the same as another one. And what makes a person want to book yours over theirs? Quite frankly, nothing at that point. So you've got to have something that is going to stand out, be unique, and have like a cohesive design.
Give us 2 things that you like to put in your properties to make them different.
2 things. Wow. This isn't something we can like physically just put easily, but this is something that is awesome on a property that has it. Is a master shower with a dual like shower head. So you've got two shower heads in there. People love that feature, and it's quite rare. If you look up on Airbnb, there's not many properties with it. So if you can find a property that has that, great selling point. I would say to add to that shower experience, we put robes in our properties, and those robes are a luxury, nice touch. Cameron?
A swimming pool. It's kind of a funny question because we can't put the same thing in every property to make them unique.
Right.
But yeah, you gotta work with the properties, and you gotta treat them like individuals, because they're not hotel rooms where it's a big building where every single thing is identical.
All right, so we know that the SFR business is not all sunshine and rainbows. I want you guys to share an experience or maybe some story, maybe something that maybe didn't go so well, and how you guys were able to overcome it, or make it better. Some type of experience.
Classic job interview question right there.
Hey, I'm just curious. I want to know. What's the story? You guys got one.
Yeah.
You guys got one. I know you did.
I've got one in mind for sure. Back when we were first starting, when Chris and I were still the landscapers and the pool guys and the handymen, we had a big bachelorette party in one of our homes that messaged us on checkout, and they said, hey, just so you know, super weird thing, the mirror on the back of the door fell off. No one was around and could have touched it. And we said, well, that's weird. So we gave our cleaner a heads up and said, hey, we're going to try to get a new mirror in there. Anyway, she called us and she said, you guys got to come over here. This house is a disaster. And we drove over, and there was a door that had been ripped from the hinges, punched a hole through. Uh, yeah, the mirror was shattered on the floor. There was, oh man, I'm trying to think of what all the damage was. For me, it was the fact that these girls had somehow ripped the door from the hinges. Um, but
Oh my
there was like a
gosh.
lot of drywall damage, a lot of mess, and so that was one of those times where we just said, "All right, here we go." And you drive to Home Depot and you get the paint and you patch the drywall, and you've got like a 4-hour window to get it all done and make sure it's dry before the next people check in. And that was fun. It was like a big race to see, can we fix it? Can we get a new door?
Oh, because you had another booking right after, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had somebody checking in at 3 o'clock that day. And so it's just one of those things where you're on a time crunch and all you can do is laugh about it and get things fixed.
So who had to pay for that? I know, like, if it's on a website, maybe they only have like a $250 deposit or something. You can only take that, and then any additional damage, did you go after the person, or did you just like, let's just fix it real quick? Or
Yeah. Well, we went after the guests through Airbnb. I don't remember what the resolution was on that, but back then Airbnb was not nearly as good as they are now about paying out damages. Now they've revamped their whole system. It's called Air Cover now, and we're getting paid out a lot more fairly on those things. But do you remember specifically, Chris? Because
Uh,
I can't imagine that they paid us enough to cover the time and stress.
yeah, that certainly wasn't covered. That's for sure. We probably did get somewhere in the realm of 80 to 90% of the materials compensation at that point. But as Cameron mentioned, it's much better now about doing that. And in those cases, we had to just eat the cost, and that was a learning experience for us.
so does Airbnb actually compensate?
It starts off with going to the guest. So you ask the guest to compensate, and then it's like an insurance claim at that point. And so if the guest owns up to it, if they're a good person, they're going to pay for their damages. And a majority of the time, it goes up to Airbnb, and Airbnb has to then cover it out of their own insurance policy. But it's not something that they're necessarily paying for. You, as a host, are ultimately paying for it because you have to pay those fees on every single booking that go towards keeping that insurance policy.
So are there changes that you made to your business? You're like, I need to vet these guests a little bit better, or are there things, or is it just like, you got 99% good tenants, and then that 1% is just gonna come through occasionally?
Oh, we've certainly changed our process over the years. If you saw our guests that we accepted on our first year of business, that wouldn't fly today by any means. And you can really, by asking guests a set of questions up front and before you accept a booking with them, even just the way that they respond, if they answer all your questions, gives you, we now have it as an intuition. We'd be like, all right, this guest is gonna be fine. This guest not even worth it.
Yeah.
All right, I guess so. Some of those learning experience, and actually probably some of the value of having gone through those experience to your current clients, right, and be able to know what to look for when managing their properties.
Yeah, that's I think a big value add from us going through the learning process on our own houses first. That now none of our clients have to deal with that because we've already made all the mistakes on our Airbnbs.
Right. So if somebody wants to hire you, like, what specifically does that look like? Do they go to your website and they're like, hey, I want to use you guys on our short-term rentals? Or do you guys have any like converted where like this long-term rental is up, I want to make it a short-term rental now? Is that ever a case as well? Or is it mostly specific properties in a specific area for a specific reason?
Yeah, to answer that question, the first part of that question, when the clients come to us, interested prospects, future clients, they are usually reaching out on our website, finding us on the CT Brothers or our Instagram at the CT Brothers. One of those two things, they either send us a DM and they say, "Hey, I've got a property and I'm interested in seeing what potential it could make as a short-term rental," or they're saying, "I'm in the market for getting a property in Arizona. Can you help me?" So that's the first part of that. And Cameron, you want to take the second part?
Yeah. We don't see a conversion one way or the other that's more frequent. We get people who come to us with short-term rentals and they say, this isn't working. And then we have to coach them and say, well, this is actually a much better fit for a long-term rental. And you'd be cash flowing a lot more by doing that. And then on the flip side, we have people who come to us with long-term rentals and they say, is it possible? And we go, yeah, it would be very advantageous for you to make this a short-term rental. So we get a little bit of both. And one cool thing that a lot of our investors have done is they'll get a small apartment complex and they go, we're going to Airbnb half and we're going to long-term rent half and see what is better. And those are really fun experiments because you can do a direct comparison.
Yeah. And like, what are like the average fees? Not necessarily has to be your specific, but what does a homeowner say, I want to do this and I want to just delegate it to you guys? You guys handle everything. What does something like that typically cost?
Yeah.
Mark. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Market rate is anywhere between 15% all the way up to 35%. I mean, we've heard as high as 50% in some cases. Those people are completely gouging their customers, which is unfortunate. But, depending on the level of work and the market that you're in, 15 to 35. The sweet spot is 20. That's what we found is the most common, and that's what we're at. The lower that you go from there, the more hands-on as an owner you're going to expect to be, and you will also have to be sort of a property manager. A lot of those companies provide sort of piecemeal services or half of what we do, which is providing everything. So an owner comes to us and most of the time they have jobs, they have families, they have interests and hobbies, and they don't want to deal with anything, and they want to know that they don't have to answer the phone at 11 p.m. on a Friday night when they're with their friends or sleeping. Who knows what they're doing? And so we're helping in that case. They just get the check every single month, of the money that their property makes. And then we have a call to talk about, hey, this is how your property is doing, and this is where we think we should go and add or subtract, whatever it might be.
Awesome. Well, I really have enjoyed this interview with you guys about the short-term. I personally have learned a lot in this interview. Was there anything else about the business or about what you guys are doing or future plans that you guys have that you want to share?
Man, we are looking to buy properties. We want to increase our own portfolio. We think it's a good market here, and we believe in the short-term rental business plan. So if you're looking to buy, hit us up. If you're looking to sell, hit us up. That'd be what I have to say, because we're looking on both sides of the transaction there.
Right.
I think that's great. I think to add to that, the other thing I want to make sure people know is that we manage long-term too. So if you do have a long-term rental, and it could be, like I said, we manage in Oregon, Alabama, Florida. It could be anywhere. It's worth having a conversation about and seeing if it makes sense, if you like the way that we communicate and we talk to one another. And so just reach out, let's have a conversation and see where it goes from there.
Awesome. So thectbrothers.com is your domain, right? And on Instagram, the CT Brothers?
Domain is correct. On Instagram, we're _CT Brothers.
_CT Brothers. Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your guys' busy day, Cameron and Chris, and joining me on this interview. It's been very insightful and a lot of great information and awesome stories shared about how to, put out a fire really quickly.
Thanks, Jordan.
Awesome.
It's been great to be on.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll see you guys on the next one.